Hello, this is Professor Jag, and this is chapter 15. This chapter is on population and urbanization. And so we'll go ahead and start with the first two definitions. First one on population: it may be defined by many characteristics, such as mortality, migration, family, public health, work, and the labor force in a societal human group. Urbanization is defined as the process by which an increasing proportion of a population lives in cities rather in rural areas. So, what makes of a setting, of a given setting, an urban setting? So then we'll go. We have three measurements. The first one, three elements. The first one is a number of births, and of course we're talking about population density, right? Population numbers, number of population. So you have three variables we will play with will be in making that measurement will be birth rates, and then also death rates, and then of course migration of people. Yeah, always migration is a factor, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and see, and then of course I have the slide for that. I was a little bit ahead of myself here, right? And so the study of this is known as demography. It's a subfield of sociology that examines population size, its composition, and overall distribution. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and what I have for you a theory, okay, and a little discussion. This lecture is one of those mini lectures, like the previous chapter was kind of mini. We only have about 8 slides, so we're not going to have a lot of fun this time. But let's go ahead and have fun while we have time, of course, right? We have this demographic transition, and it's made into a theory. So think about societies, okay? Least industrialized and most industrialized societies, okay? So you have stage 1. So we have a pre-industrial society in stage 1, characterized by high birth rates and high death rates, okay? Got it? Okay. So then we have stage 2, an early industrialized society characterized by high birth rates and suddenly a decline of death rates. You understand? Okay. Then you have stage 3, advanced industrialization and urbanization, a decline of birth rates and low death rates. And then finally we have the most advanced society, which is the post-industrial society, characterized by, again, low birth rates and low death rates. You get the picture? Okay. The more modern the society is, the more advanced the society is the less number of people, but then also the less number of mortality rates. So, question is like just a question that comes out of our mind. Why would in a stage 1 society, people will have a lot of children, given that the death rate is so high, mortality rate is so high, and for perhaps starvation, perhaps famine. These are other considerations, right? These other major social problems that the society may be facing. So why they have a lot of children is the question. And so suddenly a theory that comes out is, well, let me go ahead and use the example of the rabbit, okay? So in the wild you have rabbits, right? And so rabbits have litters of about 6 bunnies, I don't know, 8 bunnies. And so what happens with the rabbit is that they're easy prey, especially bunnies, right? A snake could kill a rabbit, a raccoon probably could kill a rabbit, a wild cat could kill a rabbit, definitely, an eagle. Some of these bunnies are eaten by eagles. Many times also lizards may bite a rabbit and kill it. I don't know. So baby bunnies, they have really no defense but just run away. That's the only thing. Hop away their way in or getting inside a hole. And if they're baby bunnies, they're easy prey, right? Maybe even a rat could kill a rabbit. They're easy prey. So they have no defense. Their only defense is to jump, to hop. So okay. So what happens is that in order for the species to continue, the mama rabbit has to produce so many bunnies in a litter. So then you have 8 bunnies, and half of them are going to probably not survive between the first week. Then by within 3 weeks you probably end up with maybe 2 bunnies, because the other 2 left will probably experience starvation. The first 4 probably were eaten by snakes or whatever, and then the other 2 out of the 4 remaining would probably be die from starvation, and the remaining two, one of them there will probably be sibling competition, and one will kill the other. I don't know. I'm just making it up, okay? So you end up with one rabbit that will go ahead and go to the next generation. And even that one rabbit left may find circumstances difficult to survive. Do you understand? So the rabbit has to produce a lot of its kind in order to ensure that the species will continue. But it's just a behavior, okay? So perhaps in a pre-industrial society where things are harsh and there's probably famine and whatnot and starvation and no water, whatever, you probably then have the same phenomenon. Humans are producing a lot of its kind because the species is likely to suffer extinction. And as things get better, then education might actually be one of those variables. The people become more educated, and they basically will consider doing other things in their life that satisfies them personally than to have just children, right? Everything's better. Why have many children? I'm just thinking out loud. Okay, all right. Okay. So here's a fact. First of all, let's go ahead and have a couple of questions. In which of the stages would overpopulation be more likely? That's the first question. Second question: is urbanization sign of the right climatological conditions for an overpopulation? So, first of all, in which of the stages of will overpopulation be most likely? And the answer would be, it's apparent that in the stage 2, high birth rates and a decline of death rates, or stage 3, a decline of birth rates and low death rates, and you'd probably be right. Now, the problem is that you have highly industrialized societies that also have overpopulation problem. What accounts for that? Well, there's low birth rates and low death rates. How can that be possible? But what happens is that individuals from countries where their country is stage 2 and stage 3 may actually migrate. That's the third element of demographic transition. Remember, migration. They actually migrate to another country, a high industrialized society or country, and they then, because their way of lifestyle, their way of living and survival is to have a lot of children, they actually will go ahead and bring that to this post-industrialized society, and then the overpopulation will not just be in stage 2, stage 3, but also stage 4. So it's something that is hereditary from immigrants from stage 2 and stage 3 countries or in societies or whatever. And of course, I'm just thinking out loud. You probably have something better. Go ahead and share it with me. What role does the element of migration play in any of the 4 stages? Well, I just kind of answered that right now, right? And so a fact is that urbanization is also a characteristic of a stable demography. Urbanization is to construct, is to edify, and is to overpopulate, is to populate. So migration, it's one of the elements that continues to tail flash our faces every time we talk about population. And of course, I don't want to get political by any means, no. But it's one of the elements of demography. And let's go ahead and see what I have. I have a slide. And the claim that I make is that migration urbanizes, as in the previous slide, right? So in the previous slide, I asked a series of questions, and the last question was, what role does migration play in the growth of population or overpopulation? Well, I would like to emphasize, from a functionalist view, the different stages that migration or immigration plays. So, okay, first of all, when migrants participate as new members in a society and enter in contact with an already existing society, here's the following pattern that emerges. Stage 1, they sort of like invade the area. Not that it's not malevolent. It's like it's like birds every year fly from Argentina all the way to, I don't know, to Canada. I'm just making it up, okay? To Canada during summer because the glaciers melt and they're able to find fresh fish, and then they go back. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's a short story. The question is, where's the sin? Where's the how is this illegal? It's just birds, natural nature. Immigrants do the same thing as elephants, for example, in Africa. They travel for many days, sometimes even a whole year, in seeking water. Well, immigrants do the same thing. Migrants inside the given nation, and immigrants, people that come from other countries, they're looking for resources to survive. That's it. There's there's nothing wrong with that, morally speaking, but politically it's another thing. So it's there's no it's, in other words, it's not a malevolent. It's nothing wrong. They're not doing this on purpose. They're not doing this to mess with other people or affect the resources of other people. So we call it invasion, and then stage two they take over, succession. Okay, so this is really the pattern that we're looking at here. So let me just say that there's really nothing wrong with that. Okay, so another form not related to migration or immigration, but another form of invasion and succession is something that we know as gentrification. It's more premeditated, and you could probably go ahead and say that this is malevolent. But of course, it's not malevolent. It's just capitalism. Gentrification is the process by which members of the high and middle class move into the central city areas to renovate existing properties. Where's the crime to that? There's really no crime. But if you want to go ahead and call something premeditated and evil, maybe this would probably be closer than to just accuse immigrants of doing anything wrong, right? Why? Because it's premeditated. They wanted to. People do this because they want to go ahead and experience capitalism. But what happens is that they invade. They take over the city, the area, and sort of like they kick people out. You know what it is that just go ahead and raise the cost of living around. You know, the cost of rent. Go ahead and renovate the existing property, and instead of $800 a month for 2 bedrooms, we'll go ahead and charge $1,800 a month. And if you can't pay, we'll move out. You got it. That's it. So, but even that, we just can't call it evil, even though it may be premeditated. Yeah, but we call it capitalism. And who could go ahead and argue against progress? Of course, it terminates communities in this case because people have to go ahead and leave. They can't compete with either. They can't compete with the cheap labor that immigration brings, right, to the given area, or in this case, gentrification. They can't compete with the cost of living. Either or, people move. That's it. I mean, you know, that's just a trend that when it comes to urbanization or re-urbanization of a city, these are the trends that exist. These are the rules, okay, and or the limitations, and so people don't like it, especially if they feel threatened. Remember that a couple of slides ago I gave you this slide where we had food scarcity as being the ultimate problem, and of course, with as you can see, I was right. You know, when it comes to overpopulation, urbanization leads to overpopulation. It may lead, it's conducive towards that. The more progress, the more people move into the city, and the more crowded, you have a lot more of a crowded city, right? You have a metropolis now instead of just a regular city. So now that you have a metropolis, a city, a large city, you have, you know, you may have problems like people getting ill, people that come from other places bring illness or whatever. And then, of course, the one thing that we're looking at, you are going to have competition, and you're going to have an overpopulation, and maybe conducive towards the competition of food, of resources, of food, of water, and so these characteristics are given many times. And so, yeah, I mean, this is an important chapter. Of course, we end this chapter with two theorists that argue about you know, overpopulation. The first one is Karl Marx, and the second one is Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus stated that, you know, food supply or resources do not they just don't grow in the same way as people grow. People multiply. Well, food supply, you could get so many of it. You could just cultivate you know, so many of it. You have you know, not all ground is fertile. Okay, so you can't multiply vegetables the way you multiply people, and so you're going to have scarcity. And so, you know, the only way to control this is sexual abstinence in his view. Of course, this guy was back from the 1800s or so, old guy. And our old Karl Marx had something to say. He actually contradicted Thomas Malthus by saying that overpopulation was not the problem, but the problem was capitalist greed. That technologically we're able to go ahead and engineer food, and he was right. I mean, we're talking about this guy was looking at the future here, and we could go ahead and always overcome starvation and famine. But the greedy rich are the ones that actually don't let this happen, because they put a price in food. I mean, because they actually make of food a capitalist venue, right? And so, yeah, two different people, different theories. And in my opinion, the two make sense. I don't know if they contradict, they do, but you know, it's just that I actually do agree with both. Anyways, this is Professor Jack. I appreciate another day with me. Thank you very much. Bye bye.